I'm hearing a background radio.
David, David, mute.
Like,
yeah.
Thank you, David.
So welcome everybody to our regular monthly Black and Green, which is a
she'll use it for Instagram.
joint project.
She'll use it for Instagram and Facebook and texting.
Rita, you can mute. Okay, she did. Elston, you're muted.
Did you and I'm just talking. I got started. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, okay. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining our Black and Green Wednesday. Our Black and Green Wednesday today is about the green disability justice and design. Now, without going through this whole paragraph, if you will, the discussion is universal design, and that provides what the word says, universally. That's one size fits all. Then you have our pluriversal design. And I like pluriversal design. It sounds better, sounds newer, sounds more progressive. It moves down a one world fits all kind of position by centering green disability pride. We frame disabled lived experiences as essential human wisdom, which can be a blueprint for sustainable, regenerative living. So, what does that mean exactly? And I'm sure as we go forward, we're gonna re-examine that question, and hopefully that will be answered by our panelists. My name is Reverend Elston McCowan, and I am tonight's moderator. Don't need to know a whole bunch about me other than the fact that I've worked with the Green Party and I've worked with Jill Stein, and I was her Midwest coordinator, field coordinator for her campaign. Oh, I don't even remember what year it was. It's been so long ago to me. But anyway, long story short, I've been around with the Greens for a good while, and had to take a leave of absence, health reasons, and now I am back. We have some speakers tonight. Jerome Bauer is going to be one of my speakers, along with Alex Casper. We have Austin Spectrum, and we have Chanel Pittman, and we have Lauren Squeaks Peoples. Okay, Squeaks. Lauren, I believe Lauren Squeaks. Okay, Rachel Breton, and who else do we have? That's our lineup. So what I'm going to try to do, the best I can, and leading us through this, and it seems to me that Maureen Doyle, Maureen and I talked earlier, and she's going to be our timekeeper. Maureen, you want to tell them about what's going on with the timekeeping?
Hi, I'm gonna be your timekeeper, and so each speaker will have 10 minutes. Where there's two speakers, they have 5 minutes each. And each there will be 2 respondents after each of the speakers, and they will have 2 minutes each.
Gotcha. Okay. So looks like I'm going to be introducing the speakers, and it looks like I've got a long thing here about is that Alex Casper as well? Is Alex with us tonight?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay, and Jerome Bauer. Now, Jerome, I know I've been knowing Jerome for a long time. Jerome has been a volunteer on many opportunities that we've had to get ballot status for our national candidates for the Green Party. He's actually saved our ballot status here in St. Louis on a number of occasions. When we first began to go get candidates to go run for office, Jerome Bauer, when I came aboard, anyway, he might have done it before then, but when I came aboard, Jerome Bauer was one of the main people that was always interested in working with me and getting things done. And so Jerome and I have been going back way a long time with really a lot of success. As some of you all may or may not know, Jerome is he's blind, and he's a professor of religious studies who is learning to do everything in a whole new way. Jerome, we're going to ask you to speak for 5 minutes, and then we're going to introduce Alex Casper.
Okay.
Yay.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. Welcome to Green Disability and Design. This is the first webinar in a new series of webinars. We plan to do one of these every year until we have justice for all the disabled people of the world. Every political party, legislature, and labor union ought to have a disability caucus. If yours doesn't have one, start one up. Disability rights was once a Republican issue. The Americans with Disabilities Act was Bob Dole's pet project in the early 1990s. Many legislatures still have bipartisan disability caucuses, and we have some links to some of these that will be in the chat. There are many libertarians are disabled, and the Green Party is hard at work organizing a disability caucus. We only have half as many members as we need to be recognized by our national party. So we have our work cut out for us. We all have our work cut out for us, because if we live long enough, we will all be disabled in the end. The future is disabled, so this is of concern to everybody. Now, we've been brainstorming this webinar series for more than a year, and we've been we've had many working titles. So I will just briefly unpack the one that we finally settled on. First of all, green doesn't mean just Green Party, it means green or greenish. That is, anybody with an environmental conscience. Disability is the accepted term now, replacing handicapped, which is not offensive, it's just old-fashioned. Justice, everybody wants justice. We thought about using pride as our webinar title and series title. We should not be ashamed of our disability, we should be proud, but we shouldn't be too proud. Pride, after all, is one of the 7 sins. Pride goes before a fall, so we don't want to overdo it. So we decided on justice that everybody can accept, but we're using the disability pride flag as our symbol of our event and our event series. And if you look in the I can't see it, but we should have a visual there. The disability pride flag, the purple stripe is for all the victims of ableist violence, including Holocaust victims. The green stripe includes blind people like me and like some other people on the call tonight. So it's not easy being green. Anyway, yeah. But we decided on justice as our the term for our event and title, because everybody can accept that. Now, what about design? What kind of design do we want? Last year, I spoke in a transportation accessibility webinar, and I asked a rhetorical question: why doesn't everybody just drive a car? Well, not everybody does, because not everybody can. One size never fits all. One kind of technology is not appropriate for every person. So, do we want universal design, or do we want pluriversal design? And so, Alex, you're on.
Okay, Alex, you done? You done, Jerome?
Yes, I am
Okay,
done.
fantastic. Let me now introduce Alex. Alex is going to have 5 minutes to speak. Alex Casper is a disability justice and transportation accessibility activist. Alex has had an accident, got hit by a car, and has had all sorts of trauma to his body. And matter of fact, I want to ask you, Alex, if you'd be so kind, and well, I'll give you an extra minute if you share just a little bit about your history as far as some of your injuries and some of your disabilities.
Yeah,
Alex
so
Casper, everybody.
my history of disability starts at childhood. I grew up with allergies, and I wasn't protected by the ADA to attend school. I was unenrolled from school in 2004, and didn't get to attend school until high school because I wasn't protected by the ADA with having severe allergies to some of the material latex allergy. Ended up impacting my access to education, healthcare, work, and a lot of things in my life. Recently in my life, in 2024, the day after submitting signatures for Jill Stein, Layla Hazoo, Richard Weiss, and Samson Podnu, who we replaced with Butch Ware on our ballot. The day after we submitted their signatures and I led our ballot access campaign, I was run over by a car at Aramingo and Wheatsheaf Lanes, sustaining a neck, back, shoulder, hips, and other injuries. And I, throughout my life, I've had, this is my third neck injury. Previously, as a teenager, I had to go through pulmonary rehabilitation while also healing from that neck injury as a child playing football. I have an extensive history of disabilities. I'm visually disabled. I have keratoconus and amblyopia. I see multiple images on top of everything. And I'm second and third percentile in auditory and visual processing ability. And so the way I process information is a lot different than a lot of other people process the world around them. And I use a mobility device. I use a rollator walker because I'm partially paralyzed from the neck injuries. I cannot feel my right leg.
Thanks for sharing. Good, Alex. You want to share something else about what you and Jerome were talking about?
Yeah, and so I'm here to present pluriversal design and what
Yeah, there you go.
pluriversalism is. And so we've been gaslighting ourselves for about a century. We're told that there's only one real world, that the world of 9 to 5, the world of stairs, the world where you can keep up. If you can't keep up, you're invisible. And I want to say that's a lie. We are taking a page today out of the Zapatista playbook, specifically from the second Lacandan jungle from Subcomandante Marcos, who fought for a better version of the bosses, who didn't fight for a better version of the boss's world, but fought for a pluriverse, a world where many worlds can fit. We're going to take some ideas from the lens of Sarah Jaquette Ray and Jay Sabara to say that the same colonial system poisoning the earth is the same one telling you your body is broken. We aren't mistakes of nature. We're the resistance to a system that tries to pave over everything that it can't sell. And this isn't just a webinar tonight. Tonight, we're doing a type of ideological insurgency. So don't let them fool you with universal design as a commodity. If it's just coming from a corporate office, they want to sell you a $10,000 gadget so you can be independent enough to go work a job that doesn't care if you live or die. Forget that. In the green movement, we don't want to be isolated individuals. We want interdependence. Universal design gives you a cold steel handrail so you can walk down a hallway alone. But what happens when that handrail breaks or you try to go somewhere without that handrail? If you pluriversal design, that's my hand in your hand. That's a community that refuses to move until the slowest among us is safe. Think of being blind and needing someone to help you shop for your groceries. A lot of people don't know how to use certain technology or don't always have a phone that's working to be able to buy their groceries. As soon as we lose that interdependent community, we lose the framework of being able to be interdependent, and rely on our neighbors to help guide us to live our lives with full dignity, to be able to get our groceries, to be able to get to where we need and find directions. We don't want radical independence. We're building a network of care that no CEO can ever own. And so look at the clock on your screen. That's the enemy. Capitalism is obsessed with speed. They give you 60 seconds to speak at a hearing, or they cut your microphone. They tell you if you move too slow, you're worth less. That's trash. We are reclaiming crypt time. Our bodies have their own rhythms, their own scales, and their own wisdom. Dignity means that if you have the right to Dignity means you have the right to not be rushed by some billionaire stopwatch. A green future isn't about changing the light bulbs. It's about smashing the capitalist clock and living at a human pace. We aren't late. We're existing in a rhythm that honors the earth, not the market. They want us to pass. They want us to look normal, act normal, and use normal designs. But we're here to claim our ontological security. That's the right to be exactly who you are without an apology. If the industrial world calls us broken, then being broken is a badge of honor. It means we aren't compatible with a machine that's killing the planet. Our bodies, our neurodivergence, our unique ways of moving, that's territorial knowledge. We're the experts on how this world should run because we're the ones who know where the facade ends. In a pluriversal world, we aren't the patients, we are the authority.
Right.
If a solution costs a fortune and uses planned obsolescence, it's not accessible. It's just a colorful cage. We see the techno-solutionism, we see the paywalls, and we say, no, our design is insurgent. It's low-tech, it's ancestral, it's crypt coding. It's hacking this broken world to make it work for our people right where they live. Our people aren't fixing ourselves to fit a dying world. We're building a new one. We're moving away from products and towards practices of radical solidarity, because when the storms hit, the gadgets will fail, but the community will not. So let's build a world where many worlds fit, where no one's left behind, and power to the people.
Alex. Jerome, Alex, you all did a fabulous job. You all are the standard by which all others shall be judged. And I hope they can possibly live up to it. That is my prayer. And Alex, I will tell you, there's not a gay bone in me, but man, I'll marry you after that. I am so impressed. You made me cry, actually. I really felt at home, and you really spoke to my spirit. I want to thank you and Jerome for doing that. They closing the door on me because I'm too loud in the church. Let me see. Let me get my next person. I think we have people going to respond for 2 minutes after that. First person is going to be Rachel Bratton. Rachel Bratton is a Minnesota Green Party member with tall stature, and she will be giving a report about what it means to be short in a height-biased world. Is Rachel with us?
I'm Rachel. Am I responding to Alex, or am I giving my talk about being short?
You got 2 minutes, whatever you want to do, it'll be fine with me.
Am I responding to Alex?
You can respond to Alex.
Yeah.
And you can talk.
Right. All right. So Alex's talk was supposed to be about differentiating between universal design and pluriversal design. And the intention, I think, is to design a world in which everybody is comfortable, everybody can live according to their own natural way that they are. And I think that the intention is really really excellent. And I have my own idea that is a third option, maybe. And it may not be exactly its own category, because I may not completely understand the difference between universal design and pluriversal design. But in my own disability, I have made use of modular designs where things can function in one way for someone else, and they can function in my own way to suit my own disability. Um, so I'm not sure if it's a third category or not, but there's universal design, pluriversal design, and maybe modular. Thank you.
How do you mean by modular? Talk about modular just a little bit more for me.
So like what I was saying is
Yeah.
like one object may function a certain way for someone in one scenario, but it could be used in a different way
Okay.
for someone. So for instance, maybe this isn't exactly modular, but do you know, so I'm short, right? So
Mm-hmm.
something that I do sometimes in a grocery store when I'm in the freezer section
Yeah.
and I'm trying to get up to something really tall, high up, I actually step up on it's like where the
The
door,
rail.
the
Yeah.
lowest part of the door would have
Mm-hmm.
closed to. So I can
Mm-hmm.
step onto that
Mm-hmm.
to get to the top shelf, where that's not used like that for someone who can just reach the top shelf. But for me, it
Mm-hmm.
functions as a step.
Gotcha.
And to me, that seems modular, but like, so I have these,
Mm-hmm.
I use these.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
these can be put to the side,
Yeah.
and then they don't get in the way when
Mm-hmm.
someone else is using the house space. But
Mm-hmm.
then I can bring them out and use them for my own purposes.
So I'm gonna let you go. But Rachel, are you saying that we should have modular items throughout our society, anticipating different people with different abilities may need access to them? Is that what you're promoting?
Yeah, I think that it doesn't have to be
Makes sense.
all one way, right? I think that universal
Yeah.
design and pluriversal design and also modular design could all be,
Yeah.
options.
Well, you're just adding that as one of the rings to the intersectionality of the things that we need to survive. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank
Can I
you.
just
Maureen,
respond to
go.
that?
Go.
I
Okay.
just, yeah, just a 1 minute
Um,
response.
Go. 1 minute.
Yeah,
okay.
so I
Yeah, I
just
was
wanted to
doing two
explain.
minutes, but I
No,
lost
Maureen.
the
I'm gonna let
stopwatch.
I'm gonna let Alex respond for 1 minute. Then I'm gonna
Okay,
talk to you,
that's fine.
Maureen. Maureen, you'll be next. Go, Alex.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say pluriversal design is not trying to kill universal design. And this is like a big confusion when you bring up
No, no.
pluriversalism. We're not trying to kill universal design features, we're trying to decommodify it. Because a lot of times things get universally commodified for an able body, and then it excludes the disabled body because it's like, oh, we're going to build something universally that most people can use. But then it doesn't test for all body types, for all personality types, for all
Mm.
people, and the different features of what makes them human. And so we have pluriversal design means, yeah, absolutely room for modular design, absolutely room for universal design, but
Hmm.
also let's not abandon the interdependence on the community, and let's build systemic community supports that make it so every single person has their full human dignity.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. Maureen Dole is gonna give us
Okay.
2 minute response to our good Jerome and Alex.
Okay.
Hmm.
Uh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm going to my time watch. I to my stopwatch. Um, I think it's very interesting, and I'm glad that Rachel added that third category because I'm like kind of confused. And Alex, you maybe you can correct me. Um, because I noticed like there's a lot of things that are different. Like stairs or
Hmm.
there's different heights of them. And as I get older, I have knee problems and I'm like, some stairs are just too hard to do. Um, and so would a pluriversal um affect that and how so? Because everybody's different. They're not everybody's my height or
Hmm.
has my issues. So, could I put you on the spot, Alex, to speak to that?
Yeah. So I think, you know, some of the confusion of like universal versus pluriversal design, we're kind of talking about the same thing here. It's just we're talking about the decommodified version of it. In a movement, when you're trying to build a movement, and the social movement for universal design is its own movement, there are 4 cycles to that movement. There is the formation and challenge phase of that movement, where it's challenging the system with something new. There's the growth phase of that movement where the challenge was successful in changing something and the movement grows in influence. And then there becomes a commodification stage when opposition to that movement, capitalism itself, tries to commodify the idea to make a product out of it, try to make money out of it, rather than revolutionize society to let this challenge the capitalism win. And eventually, if it's commodified enough, it enters the 4th stage of a movement, which is neutralization. And the movement itself becomes neutralized as a product and as rather than as a actual movement demand to change our society, revolutionize our society against the commodity of capitalism. And so we're just trying to, you know, just explain pluriversalism as, you know, we want to have room for individualized, you know,
Alex, what I'm have to
supports.
do, in order, I want people to be happy and come back sometime. We've got all night to talk. What I want to teach you how to do, Alex, young man, is give just a little bit and then save a little bit for later. So we'll always want to come back for more. Fair enough? Thanks, Alex.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, Maureen set up there and lost her minutes by giving you her time. Go ahead, Maureen.
Yeah.
Finish up.
And next is Barbara Laxon.
Okay.
Got 10 minutes.
Yeah. So Barbara, we know Barbara. Barbara is a retired occupational therapist with 18 years of experience. And you deal in the area of autism. I need help with that too. So go ahead, Barbara.
Yes. So there's a few myths that concern autism. Well, there's quite a few. One is that autism is just like a monolithic kind of thing. If you have autism, it means X, Y, Z, whatever. Okay, this is not true. There are so many different forms of autism, which is why nowadays nobody talks about somebody having autism. They say they're on the autism spectrum because it is, the spectrum is the best way to describe. You have people with autism who are so severely disabled that they are, as adults, they're still unable to dress themselves or feed themselves or possibly speak or those kinds of things. And then you have people who are considered Asperger's, who can generally function in society to some degree and often are quite intelligent and able to go to school and get degrees and be mathematicians and physicists and, you know, whatever that you whatever anyway, but the main thing with people who are on the spectrum is that their brain works a little bit differently, and that could take a number of forms. I posted in the chat a couple of links to Temple Grandin, is who has autism, who as a child was considered severely autistic and was her parents were told to put her in an institution that she would never be able to talk or do anything in. She has a doctorate in animal studies and she goes all over the world now and teaches and stuff. And she talks about her main thing is her animal husbandry thing that she does. That's where her PhD is. But she also is a perfect person to talk about autism because she knows it from the inside out. And to her, autism is she doesn't see words, she sees pictures, fully formed pictures in her mind. And this is how she is able to see things that most other people don't see. And it's kind of like there's a test that they do with people where they have them play a basketball with somebody else and count how many times they can get a basket or whatever in the game, and somebody can walk by them while they're concentrating in a gorilla suit and walk by them, walk through the room, and they'll never see them and they'll never know that they're there. This is most people because they focus on one thing. Generally, people with autism, they would never miss something like that. They see everything because the ones that have that visual way of thinking, but there are others that have a different way of working. And the biggest thing with most people with autism is that they have trouble in social relationships. This is one of the things that defines autism. The people who don't know how to talk to somebody in a situation. They will say things that everybody else will think is totally inappropriate because this is what they're focused on. They often, not always, but often have trouble reading people's expressions, understanding if people are upset or happy or whatever the case might be. They have one of the things that is used in autism today is they have these little robots that do faces, and they teach the kids to recognize what that expression means so that it's standardized. It's kind of a standardized thing so that they can take the time to memorize that and it makes sense to them. But when I was working in the field, what I did, I worked with something that was called hippotherapy. And what we did was we put them on horses. And the horses had a number of functions. First of all, a horse, like a dog, tends to be they're friendly with everybody. They're not, they're warm, and the child can work with them without having to worry about somebody judging them, without having to worry about being left out or whatever because they can't respond appropriately. So we would have the kids riding the horses, throwing and doing games while on the horses. We would have the kids shoveling out the stalls so that they could work out, get from step one to step two, to work out when you do this, this happens. This is something that yeah, well, I'm not a great speaker, as everybody can see.
Yes, you are. You're doing great.
But yeah, so does anybody have any questions?
What we're going to do, we're going to save the questions until the end. We're going to have the next speaker after you that deals with autism. And we're going to, let's see, boom, 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 boom. I got to get back over here. And what we're going to do is
Yeah,
then
we have
have two
two
people
respondents
going to
now.
respond to you. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see. Responding to Barbara is Alex Casper.
And Digger.
And Digger Romano. Now, what I need for you all to do is, Maureen, give us kind of like when we come close to the end of the time, like
Yeah.
so you got 1 minute, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, you know, that kind of stuff.
Okay. We
that
just
helps.
haven't come that close yet.
Oh,
So that's
wonderful.
why I haven't said
Well, I'm so
anything.
impressed. Thank you.
Because it was at 7 minutes.
Okay,
at
fantastic.
Barbara, so
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
gonna give her a heads up at 8.
Okay.
I had no preparations.
You did good,
You
Barbara.
know, I didn't know
I
I
was,
Yeah,
was
I
going
think it
to
was
speak.
very
So
interesting.
it was very helpful to me. Let me just tell you why. And my wife says she's on the spectrum. She's never been tested for it, but she has all the behaviors that I've ever seen with people on the spectrum. And one of the things I noticed is that she does not read my cues. We've been married for 30 years, and she's never been able to read my cues. And so when you said that, that really rang a bell to me. So I guess I'll make up to her and try to bring her back. We'll see. But thanks, Barbara. That really changed. I wouldn't be surprised. Thank you so much. Who else do we need? We need, okay, let's go, Alex. Alex, 2 minutes.
I thought you did really good, Barbara. I think some of the definitions were a little outdated. The use of the Asperger's definition is no longer in the Diagnostic Statistics Manual as of the DSM-5, specifically because of the history of the diagnosis simply being to differentiate people based on IQ and functionality to be commodified labor in the Nazi system. In World War II, Hans Asperger was a Nazi doctor, and the definition for Asperger's was at the time used to separate who was commodifiable labor and who was to be used for medical testing or for just sent to like a death camp hospital type of situation. Yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I was wondering what you would suggest for the future, so that way we could decommodify the practice of, you know, what we're teaching these children and preparing them for in the world, so that they can be their full human selves and have full human dignity as themselves, rather than be strictly expected to adhere to certain labor demands that, as you stated, some people just won't be expected to be able to meet in the future.
okay, that's why I put those two links in the chat. A couple different things about Temple Grandin, because she spends a lot of time giving talks about how she was able to break out of her limited world that she was born into, as far as her capabilities, and because her mother never gave up on her and constantly exposed her to every different kind of challenge, and you know, to put her in a position so that she could find her own way. And this is like one of the many things that her mother did was, as I was saying, they sent her to this farm, and she was exposed to the horses and the cows, and how people had trouble with the cows, putting them in these chutes to send them through to put them on the trucks to take them, and the cattle would fight and cause problems, and it was always a big effort, and it took her, you know, maybe 5 minutes to figure out what it was that was the problem, and because she could see what the cow could see that people weren't seeing. It just kind of went over their head, but she could see it clearly. And so as soon as they changed the way that they were doing it, all they had to do was change the angle so that the cows weren't seeing a reflection of something or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was. And right away, everybody, this was like her calling. I mean, her skills that she had, her visual skills were ideally suited to this. So this was an example of, instead of restricting these children because the attitude is they can't do this and they can't do that and they can't do the other thing, and
They should be
you gotta
challenged.
protect them. The opposite is true. They have to be exposed to as many different types of challenges to see where they can fit in. And
Green Party folks, I'm telling you, I'm proud of you. And this is unbelievable what I'm learning tonight. You would think people had learned this a while ago, but it's unbelievable. And I'm dealing with, and Barbara Terry will tell you, I'm dealing with a lot of issues in the St. Louis Public Schools, St. Louis County Special School District, dealing with autism. And you all are really enlightening me. Thanks so much for doing this tonight. We'll put this program together and acting to be moderator. I'm really honored and privileged to be with you all tonight. The next speaker is going to be Chanel Pittman.
Well, we still have Digger as a respondent.
Oh, I only have Casper, Alex on my list. But go ahead, Digger. Digger, you want to respond? Thanks.
Because you've worked with autistic people.
Yeah, I'm just I like that Barbara Laxon had talked about how you can deal designing a world and deal with the specific challenges that people on the autism spectrum have. I think that one of the big things I've seen, I do work at times with children on the autism spectrum, and I know several adults that are on the autism spectrum. How do you create, and I would sort of say, the what is it, the pluriverse? I'm still learning this word. That to deal with one of the biggest challenges that people with autism have is like some of them anyway, learning to read social cues and overcoming the awkwardness and anxiety that they have in trying to fit into our world. So, is there time?
Is that a question for Barb?
Yeah, that's a question, or Alex or Barbara.
Okay.
Well, what I would say in that case is that as I said before, that the biggest thing with the social cues is that most people automatically see them. You learn as a child coming through very unconsciously. You learn these skills. As somebody with autism, generally they have to learn them at a very conscious level. They practice. They have to, that's why I was talking about that little robot thing, because it makes it very obvious, so that they can practice looking at it and practice thinking these through and because they very often they're very good at memorizing and setting up. I've heard it called masking, where they put on this mask where to them, that's what it feels like, where they practice saying the appropriate thing, and they practice, remembering when, somebody says this, it means this, kind of thing, where to you or I, it might just be, automatic. They have to practice it.
Right.
That's been 1 minute.
Okay, fantastic. We're doing good. Now, as a moderator, let me take moderator privilege real quick. And Barbara, ask you this. What does it mean when somebody does not yawn when you yawn or won't blink when you blink?
I have no idea.
So they told me that means that that person is a sociopath or a psychopath. Did you all know that?
Mhm.
Anybody ever heard
I
that
have
before?
never heard of that.
Okay, okay, good deal, good deal. So my wife is not a sociopath then. Good, okay, good.
Somebody has their hand up, and I don't know if they have a question
Okay. Go with the
for
questions and I'll see
the.
if it's in time, if it's appropriate or not.
Okay.
Ask.
Oh,
Who has a question?
sorry. It's not a question, it's a comment. I'm a late diagnosed autistic woman. I was diagnosed at 23. So I spent my whole life thinking I was neurotypical. And I just have some like, for people who are neurotypical and who want to be good allies to autistic people.
Mhm.
Professionally, I also work with autistic people, a lot of whom have been
Right.
really traumatized by trying to be having people try to force them into these expectations of like making
Now,
eye
I don't,
contact.
sorry to have to interrupt you. We didn't
Oh,
get your name first.
oh
Well,
gosh, I'm
and
sorry.
then, no, no. And the second thing is, we're going to actually open it up to it after the end of the presentation for everybody to make comments if they want to make any comments.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for
No
reminding
problem.
me.
Well, so please don't go anywhere because we definitely want to hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on
Sorry.
1 second. Okay, go ahead. Say it again. Oh, yes. Okay. Okay. So next person is Chanel Pittman, Green Party People with Disability Caucus. Chanel, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chanel Pittman. Can you hear me okay?
Everybody getting ready to leave now? I can hear you, Chanel.
Okay.
Mhm.
So my name is Chanel Pittman, and I'm one of the coordinators trying to work on getting a nationally accredited disability caucus for the Green Party. If you
Woo!
know the Green Party, you know that we've got caucuses for almost every community inside of the party. We have the
Yeah.
Black Caucus, of which I'm co-chair, the Youth Caucus, of which
Mhm.
I'm co-chair for a little while longer,
Mhm.
the Women's Caucus, and I feel like I'm forgetting one. Oh, and the Lavender Caucus, of which I'm
Oh.
secretary. Those are the ones that we have right now currently accredited. For the queer community, the Lavender Caucus; for the Black community, the Black Caucus; the Latinx community, the Latinx Caucus; and the Youth Caucus being for the youth, obviously, and the Women's Caucus being for the women. But
You know.
there's a lot of disabled people inside of the Green Party, at least from my experience, like being in green circles, there's a lot of people with disabilities. So
Mhm.
we need to create a caucus for the people with disabilities inside of the Green Party so we can have a space to workshop a platform that is to workshop our platform to make sure it is inclusive of people with disabilities. I myself have cerebral palsy and I'm a cancer survivor, as well as having a couple of small mental illnesses that we're not going to get into right now. And I know that we can make this caucus a thing because you guys got to remember, in the Green Party, caucuses are not like they are in the Democratic or Republican parties. Because if you're in a caucus in the Green Party, you get an extra vote for president because they're trying to make sure that you're getting make sure that your marginalized community is being heard as much as it can. So when you're in a
Oh.
caucus in the Green Party, you get a vote to determine who the nominee is inside your caucus, and that caucus gets four presidential delegates to distribute how they would like. But in order for the disabled community in the Green Party to have that, as well as two people on the National Committee, which is the governing body of the Green Party, we have to get accredited. In order to accredit the caucus, we need at least 100 people from 15 different states that are members of the Green Party, according to their state, to give their information to a list of people that will then go to our accreditation committee and verify that they're greens so we can say we have enough people to form a caucus.
Hmm.
I messed up.
Currently, I just checked the list and
Yeah, really.
we have a little over, we're at about 94 people that we have. We need about 120. So if there's anybody here, well, about 135, I would say. So if there's anybody here that would like to be part of the Disability Caucus,
Me.
I will put the link to the form to sign up in the chat so that you can fill out the form. I'm assuming most everybody here is a member of the Green Party of Missouri.
We're all over. We have Missouri,
But yeah.
everybody, all over the country.
Okay, well, if that's cases, I'm going to assume that a lot of y'all are also disabled Greens, and I'm going to drop this in the chat. I'm sorry it's such a long URL, but I don't control the URL the Google Forms make.
I understand. No, thank you so much. Maureen, I'm in the process of getting ready to leave this facility. While I am defocusing for a second and trying to get in the car, you mind
Okay.
calling on the next person speaking?
Okay.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, because she was only at 4 minutes, and I just wanted to say,
Wow.
I just wanted to say to Chanel, it's more than just the people here watching it. This is being recorded, and there are other viewers. So it'd be great to put that disability caucus application in the chat because lots of people can see that.
Okay, cool.
Thank
Because
you.
one thing I wanted to break down a little bit about the Disability Caucus is the structure of the caucus, or two particular really important roles that we have in the caucus. We have accessibility compliance lead and outreach lead.
Okay.
Basically, with the accessibility compliance committee inside the caucus, those are the people that are going to go through Green Party spaces and determine what's not accessible, what's not working, what needs to be changed, so they can come up with a list of recommendations on how to make the party more accessible to disabled people going forward.
Cool.
Outreach team is the group of people that's going to interface with the various disability orgs that we have in this country to let them know that the Green Party is a home for disabled activists and people, because our platform is universally good for everyone. And it'll be better once we have a section in our platform on disability. One thing I will say, I'm lucky to be from California because I don't know how this happened, but in my state, they have one of the most beautiful disability platform planks I ever seen in my life. A wonderful disabled activist inside of California wrote it, and I'll put
Wow.
it in the chat in a little bit. I
Please.
just need to pull it up.
Okay.
So
Great.
We'll have that. Thank you.
Okay.
So now
And
I want to.
McCowan, you need to,
Yeah,
or Elston, you need to,
that's cool. Yeah,
go somewhere.
I can introduce Barbara Laxon and Daniel Romano. They're going to be
Okay.
responding. We've already gave you their background, so you guys come in that order. Barb first,
Okay.
Daniel, and then
And
I'll
you
get
get
back
2
on.
minutes.
2 minutes apiece, and I'll get back on when I'm available. Next time I'm available.
Okay.
Get ready to start riding. Okay. But I'm gonna keep my phone on though, so I can listen. Okay, go.
Yeah, I think that that was just such a good presentation. This is Digger here, Daniel Romano. Um, and I'm excited. I know I've talked to Jerome Bauer in St. Louis here about having a disability caucus. Um, it's just a question of, I think, as our population grows, but even beyond that, I think there's been such an increase in people that have disabilities. And I guess the debate is around with people on the autism spectrum. Uh, is it that there's increasing numbers of people with autism, or is it that, as some say, they're just diagnosing it more accurately, and it was often misdiagnosed in the past?
the latter is definitely the case, because they didn't have the words to clearly understand autism in girls and femmes for a long time, because they weren't even looking for girls to be autistic. So they didn't know what they were looking for. And sometimes in different communities, autism looks different. So now they have a situation where more people know what the signs and symptoms and conditions are. So now they're seeing more autistic people.
Okay, well, thank you. And I'll yield the rest of my time. That was a great answer and a good presentation. Thank you very much, Chanel Kitten.
Your 2 minutes. Barbara?
Yeah, I think that I just love what Chanel was saying about the caucus. I think that it's pretty crazy that we don't already have a disability caucus. I would have thought that that would have been one of the first things that would have been developed. You know, there are very few people who are more marginalized than the disabled. I mean, how many people are aware that it's legally okay to pay someone who is disabled less than the minimum wage? This is, you know, ridiculous. I mean, there's so many things that there's so many disadvantages that are put in the way of someone who is disabled because they are, as Alex likes to say, that, you know, that it's the environment that's the problem more than the person. This is a big OT thing, is that we try to not only help people respond to their environment, but help design the environment to respond to the people. So yeah, I appreciate everything that you're trying to do, and I will support it in any way that I
You
can.
have 30 seconds left.
And I'm
Well,
done.
thank you. I appreciate that. There were attempts to start a disability caucus 10 years ago, but a lot of the paperwork went missing.
Oh.
And people that were involved with it like lost what they were working on. So we have everything together now thanks to technology, and
Yeah.
we're almost there.
Well, Janelle, this is Elston McCowan again. I would say, I know I'm planning on joining. I'll be filling out the paperwork, and anything I can do to help to get that started, I'll be more than happy to do.
Thank you. I'll be in touch.
Oh, question. Do you have to be disabled to be a member of the Disability Caucus?
Yes.
Okay. Can you work in the field?
You
be a
have
member?
to be a person with a disability to be a
Okay.
member of the Disability Caucus.
Understood. Okay. All right. Thank you. Maureen, go ahead with the next person.
Okay, I think the next person is Rachel Broughton talking about oh, I don't have the title. I didn't write down the title with me.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Hold on.
Okay.
Oh,
You're
Rachel,
on.
Rachel's
And
up.
you got 3 minutes.
Yeah, Rachel, you've been introduced already. Go ahead. Thanks, Maureen.
Okay, how do we maximize this? Okay. Okay, so I look pretty typical. If you take a look at me, the proportions of my body actually are what you would expect from an average person. So my arms aren't particularly short. My legs aren't particularly short. My torso, my arms, and my legs are in proportion to what's pretty typical. But I am 4'9". I have a number of challenges that I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, just to be me. And it's very normal for me to live my life in a world that's designed for people who are average height. But I am constantly having to modify either my own behavior or the environment in order to function, even in my own home. So I'm gonna show you this first. And I actually had to purchase a certain car in order to drive a car. And it's not that my car has been modified in any way, but I got a Leaf. Um, and it's a Nissan Leaf, and Nissan is from Japan, and they have statistically smaller people in Japan. So I was able to find a car that fit me as long as I use pillows. So these are the pillows that I use in order to just sit up high enough so I can comfortably see out the back window and look over my shoulder and everything. And then, what I wanted to show people, and I'm gonna sit here, Evan. So I have a helper today so that I can show everyone. I'm gonna want them to see my feet, actually. So if this is a regular chair, so this is the same kind of chair that you would, find in most people's house, right? But it's 18 inches from the floor to the seat, and I've measured it. But from my ankle to the bend in my knee is only 13 inches. So if I'm gonna sit in this chair with my feet hanging down, they're gonna swing, they're just gonna hang, and that's actually not good for my knee.
Yes.
So over my lifetime, my knees continue to get worse and worse because this is an option. And if I don't have a stool to put my feet on, which I usually don't keep a stool at the table, I either cross my legs, and I'm so small I can fit on this chair just fine, having my legs crossed. And not everyone is going to be so small that they can fit on a chair in this way. But another way that I usually sit is actually sitting on my feet. And that's also hard on my knees. So my knees are going to be a challenge as I age, and I'm nearing 50 at this point. So this is the first thing I wanted to show everybody. And then Evan's going to follow me into the kitchen. So this is my kitchen. I spend time in this kitchen every day. And in order to comfortably operate, so what I want people to see, first of all, is if I'm not on a stool, this counter comes up to just under my breast. So if you have a sense of where the bottom of your breast is, and put your hands out there, it's actually not very comfortable to operate, to cut something from this high up. So, I would have to have the knife up by my chest, that high. So I have these stools, they're about 12 inches tall, or yeah, I think so. And so I stand on the stool every time I'm in the kitchen. Now, it's a little bit tricky when I get over to the sink. If I want to do dishes, and I really don't like doing dishes for a lot of different reasons, but I actually need a second stool. So that's where that other one comes in, and I'll show you how I do it. So now I have a setup that's actually really comfortable for me to use so that I can go from the washing sink to the rinsing sink and then put the dishes over here. Now, there's another thing that I struggle with is, and my spouse is 6 foot tall, so he has no problems when this happens, but if the dishwasher is open, and I need a cup, I actually can't get a cup. So I have to go through the rigmarole of closing the dishwasher in order to get a cup. So that's just, I like to use the word differently abled instead of disabled, at least for myself. I really feel like I can
Yeah.
do things, but I need
Hey,
to do.
Rachel, I just want to tell you, you're at 5 minutes.
Oh, am I? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
But
3 minutes.
This is the last
yeah.
thing I wanted to show people, and
Okay.
Okay.
done after that. So I can get these things down. So, and I just always have this in my kitchen for my use. So,
And Rachel, would that be considered modular? A modular item? Good deal.
yep. So lots of modularity in my house, and
Yeah,
I'm working with average sized people. So,
yeah. And I think we need to
Yeah,
advocate
interesting.
for modular items to be in our shopping malls, in our schools, and anywhere we traverse, so that we can be more comfortable.
nice.
I'll just say this before we go to the next speaker. Thank you so much again, Rachel.
He's
Hey guys,
6 feet
all right.
tall.
He's tall and handsome. All right. So what I will tell you is that the challenge that we have, and I hope somebody addresses this, uh, how we are actually treated differently, and the expectation. And I think Alex touched on a little bit. The expectation is that we become normal, and people think they're complimenting us when they tell us that you're so normal. I didn't even know you had a disability. That kind of thing. It's almost, like telling me,
Right.
oh, I didn't know, I never noticed you were black. Well, that is part of
Right.
who I am, part of the definition of me. And so when you tell me that you didn't recognize me because you didn't think I was black, that's not fair. And the same thing is, people who've been knowing me for 30 years are still passing me things on my left side, and that's my blind side. Now,
Oh.
if I just met you, that's fine. If you only met you for about a year, that's fine. But if I've known you for 30 years and you still passing me stuff on my left side, that's inconsiderate. And I don't think people understand that micro aggression kind of thing, that they're not really trying to be aggressive, but it's micro. It's that little slight that we actually have to deal with on a regular basis. It's like being bit by a mosquito 1,000 times all the time. And so I appreciate what you're going through, and I love the fact that you are making the adaptations you need in order to live comfortably. And I agree with you. That's the word I use. That I am differently able.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. With that being said, let's go to our next. I think this is we're doing pretty good. Yeah, I think the differently able people ought to be running these meetings on a regular basis. Just let me get in and get out. Yeah. Um, the next person we have, are we down to Alex, or we're at somewhere else? Jerome's supposed to
We're
go
yeah,
with a
we're at the
5 minute
book
book
report.
review. It's the book review, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with the book review. That's going to be Jerome Bauer and Maureen Doyle in that order.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
And Jerome and I had talked about I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
And then Jerome, and I'm gonna have a really hard time timing myself.
And I don't have my watch.
I'll
But
time you. I'll time you.
okay,
Okay,
thanks.
cool. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Okay, here's my review.
5
Okay.
minutes. Okay.
When was the last time you saw somebody use sign language? When was the last time, these are rhetorical questions. When was the last time you saw someone with cochlear implants or hearing aids? The first thing is adapting to being hard of hearing or deaf. The other is techno-ableism. Ableism is a bias against disabled people by saying that they should be more like abled people in hearing, sight,
Thanks.
locomotion, etc. Techno-ableism is using technology to assert these biases. Okay, I reviewed Against Techno-Ableism by Ashley Shue. And as the subtitle says, it really made me think of who needs improvement. And I did put the title in the chat.
Okay.
And she talks about engineering for good, which creates these technologies to make the disabled more like the able. And Shu admits that most technologies are helpful, but why learn sign language if you can have expensive cochlear implants and look and hear like everyone else? Shu cites fellow disabled friend, the cyborg Jillian Weiss, as she explains how society views disabled as a bad state of being and that disabled people must be altered to be worthy. This is just what she's saying. She continues, it would be an affront to ask the hearing to learn sign language. Instead, they wish for us to lose our language, abandon our culture, and then consider ourselves cured when they have these gadgets. This thinking has far-reaching consequences, as Shu says that many disabled folks cannot even move to other countries. Disability automatically casts you as a burden, making you ineligible for permanent citizenship or residency in many countries. And she doesn't list exactly which countries, but I believe her. Another engineering for good has an adaptive technology that's engineered by non-users. And she gives an example of a prosthetic hand that's engineered without even consulting hand amputees. She has a leg prosthetic, and she does talk about how like a lot of adjustments need to be made for her body and stuff like that. And so if these engineers did consult with actual amputees, they might be better.
Time.
Oh man,
Oh, it's
I'm
just getting
almost
good.
done. I'm almost
Okay,
done.
go ahead. I'll give you some more time. Go ahead.
Okay,
1 minute.
thank you.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay, so why not use pluriversal or universal design to make things adaptable and accessible to all, like curb cuts? They're a great example. One reason is that our society likes to invent and use technology, even if everyone cannot use it. In conclusion, I will quote the front jacket of Against Technoableism. To forge a more equitable world, we must eliminate technoableism. That is the harmful belief that technology is the solution for disability. We must also reject the idea that the disabled await being fixed by technological advancement, and that making society more accessible and equitable is somehow a lesser priority when that should be the priority. So I highly recommend this book. It's only 135 pages. Short read, lots of really great content, very well researched.
All right, thanks, Maureen. Now, let me ask, Alex, you're doing the technology tonight, and if that is the case, when will you have this available, the recording available for us all? Because some of the things I'm missing, I'm not taking notes on, but I definitely want to review this tape again and make sure I get that book that Maureen just showed us.
Oh.
How long does it take for the recording to get disseminated?
Dawn could probably answer that question.
Don?
Okay. How long will it take to get the recording?
Yes.
That depends entirely on how busy Chris and Matthew are.
Okay.
If they have a big workload, it could take a week or more.
Okay.
If they're not doing anything tomorrow, they don't have to work tomorrow, then it can be 24 hours. It's usually somewhere in between there.
Okay, fantastic.
I would say give it a week.
A week. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, you all, because I want to make sure I get that book, and I want to make sure I have access to the links that's on the recording and all that good stuff. I hope. All right. With that, yes. Go ahead, Barb.
Where are we in the agenda?
We are to.
We're at Jerome doing the book review.
Yeah, Jerome's turn.
And he reviewed the same book, but he has a different take on it.
Okay.
Yeah. So next we'll have Jerome doing a book review, and then Alex Casper, too disabled, for healthcare, and he's got 7 to 10 minutes on that one. And then we'll have 2 speakers respond. Okay.
Okay.
Jerome,
well,
5 minutes.
when I first heard Ashley Shu on the radio talking about her book, the very next day I called the Wolfner Library for the Blind, and I requested them to equip it, and they did so very promptly. So the book is accessible. It's available to blind people. The book consists of 6 short standalone chapters. My favorite is the one about the 5 most common ableist media tropes and stereotypes about disabled people. I've experienced all 5 of them. I will list them. First, moocher and faker. Number 2, pitiable freak. He's not blind, he's a freak. 2 in 1 ableist verbal assault. Number 3, bitter cripple. You seem very bitter. Why don't you just move on? Move on. Don't stay behind to organize a labor union. Move on. Number 4, shameful sinner. It's your bad karma. And number 5, my favorite, inspirational overcomer. You inspire me so much. I can't understand how you can do it. You're such an inspiration to me. It's as if I have earned a gold medal just by walking across the street without getting run over. Or how about, you are living proof that anybody can run for public office. I like that one. If we had more disabled candidates, we would have better government, better representation all around. I was once a member of 6 academic societies. I had to let them all lapse because I could not afford the membership fees, and not one of them was the least bit accessible. But there is one academic society that is nothing if not accessible, and that is the SDS. That's the Society for Disability Studies. And I first heard about it in Ashley Shue's book. She became disabled well into her career, just like I did. And I would like to join that society. How do I join the SDS? I'm still searching. Maybe somebody in the chat or somebody who listens to this tape after we get it on YouTube can enlighten me about that. I think you just have to know somebody. But anyway, I would like to join. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Jerome, excellent job, Jerome. And again, I can't wait to read that book. Those statements, those media tropes, they sound really mean and unreal. But I will tell you, when I was a young person growing up, a child, and I had a car accident when I was 6 years old and lost my left eye, lost the sight in my left eye. Not only can kids be mean, but adults can be mean as well. And that book seems like it really brings that out. They would actually walk up to me as a kid and point to me and say, dead eye, dead eye, dead eye. But what happened is it actually created in me, I became a bully. Yep. Now, can you imagine a one-eyed guy walking around being the bully of the schoolyard? But guess who I was a bully to? I was a bully to the bullies. Anybody, and I still do that today. I'm still defending the weak from the wicked, speaking truth to power, and giving a voice and elevating the voice or amplifying the voice of those who are not being listened to. So sometimes being disabled does strengthen us and make us better people. With that being said, the next speaker is going to be Alex Casper. Now you've already found he's going to be our final speaker for tonight. And when you hear his speech, think about all the people you know, and then think about how many people get inadequate health undercare, not health care, but health undercare, or no effective care at all. And then respondents after that, and we're going to go in this order. I'm not going to say any more, hopefully. Rachel Bratton, which we've already talked to, and Maureen Dole, which is already talked to as well. And so they'll come after Alex, and they'll have 2 minutes. Alex, who disabled for healthcare? No.
So look, I want you to close your eyes for a second and imagine a hospital. You see the white coats, you smell the antiseptic, you see the open sign on the door, But when you roll up to that door or you walk up to the desk, the sign flips. For us, the sign says too complicated. It says too high risk. It says too disabled. There's no physical sign, but that's the words that come out of the nurse's mouth whenever they deny us care. We're here for green disability, pride, and justice, but the truth is the system we're forced to rely on is built to exclude us. It's a design choice. It's a blueprint that says if your body doesn't fit the standard, you don't belong in the clinic. And I'm telling you, this has happened to me about a dozen times. So my story is a story of a gauntlet. I needed physical therapy after the car accident I told you about earlier. That should be simple, right? But because of a latex allergy, an allergy the medical industry actually itself created during the 90s when it adopted natural rubber latex medical supplies, created an epidemic. About 6% of the population is now allergic to latex, and it's an airborne environmental hazard that causes life-threatening anaphylaxis that kills several people in my state every year. They told me I was a liability. I had 3 providers cause me to go to the ER for allergic reactions after I told them about my allergy on the phone and asked for reasonable modifications so I can safely get physical therapy. I had to go to the ER for allergic reactions during the treatment. Almost the 4th time it happened this year. When I was a child and needed physical therapy for injuries, I actually went out of state to a provider. They tell me I needed a tilt table test because I had a brain injury and I was having some heart issues and having issues with regulating my balance and trying to figure out the cause if I had POTS or if it was something related to the brain. The test requires me to be able to stand and balance. I'm partially paralyzed though. I can't feel my right leg. For some folks, that's like asking a person in a desert to swim to the finish line. It's a cruel joke. I went to the dentist for a cavity, just a tiny hole in my tooth, and they turned me away because I have a history of seizures. Like my brain's misfiring makes me unworthy for basic care. And the kicker, I went to go get groceries so I wouldn't starve, and the insurance company tried to snatch my homebound physical therapy services from me. When I was too disabled to go to the physical therapist, I tried homebound services. When I talked about, my daily life, they snatched it right away from me. I lost my services because I went out and bought groceries. I was too able for being homebound. They want us invisible or they want us gone. But it ain't just my story. It's the story of our neighbors. It's the person with Down syndrome walking around with a knot in their stomach, pleading for help, only to have a doctor call it behavioral. It's celiac. It's cancer. It's the doctor only sees the disability. That's diagnostic overshadowing, and it's killing people. It's the person with BPD, with PNES, being told by a neurologist that their seizures are fake because they don't show up on an EEG despite decades of documentation of these seizures being real. It's the grandmother with cardiovascular condition being told during COVID that her life isn't a priority for a ventilator. And look at the gear. If you're a bigger person or you're in a chair, the tables don't move, the scales don't work, or you can't get a mammogram because the machine demands you stand like a statue. We're being erased by the very furniture in the room. And then there's the paperwork, the administrative red tape. It's a fence built of fine print to keep folks with brain fog or sensory issues from getting what they need. It's a war of attrition. And why? Why is it easier for Medicaid to dump you in a nursing home than to let you stay in your own house? It's institutional bias. It's profitable. They'd rather warehouse us than fund an aid. They'd rather deny a heart transplant to someone with an intellectual disability because they don't think they're worth the organ. That ain't medicine. That's eugenics with a clipboard. So what are we fighting for? We're fighting for not just for a single payer card to put in our wallets. A card doesn't fix a flight of stairs. We're fighting for a fully adaptive, accessible system. We want a Green New Deal for healthcare where every clinic is latex free, where every exam table lowers to the floor, where we fund people to live in their homes, not just cages or the street. We're fighting for a world where you can go to a Green Party meeting, get your groceries, and still get the care you need to breathe. That's dignity. That's justice. We're taking that too disabled sign and we're ripping it down, and we're building a system that actually fits the people it's supposed to serve. Thank you.
Wow.
Am I responding?
Yes. Yeah, and you're the first one.
I am continuously impressed by Alex's creative uses of words. I love words. I'm a language enthusiast. I like learning new languages. I love learning new words. And I love the way Alex puts words together to convey a visual, and it touches an emotional place too. Um, and I want to thank both Alex and Chanel. The two of you have been such great ambassadors for a future disability caucus. Um, and Alex with your words, Chanel with your outreach, and and that's pretty much what I wanted to say. Alex, your story is very compelling. All of the different ways that you've been locked out of a system that's really supposed to be designed to help. Um, and it's really striking. I have my own stories about you know, trying to get pregnant. I loved doctors before I was trying to get pregnant, and I had just time after time after time of really bad experiences with doctors that when it came to my reproductive system. And so I can relate in some ways because of that.
Excellent. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody,
I don't want to rush you.
I'm in the car and I'm mobile. I need to get I was listening, so whoever's going to close out, can you close out with everybody, Maureen, for me?
Okay. Yeah,
Thanks.
I'm just gonna
Okay.
do my response, and
Okay.
Yeah,
and
All right.
I see that
I got to get off,
Barbara
guys.
has a
I'm going.
hand up,
Good night.
so I'll give my response.
Okay.
Or do you have a comment now?
uh, I could go ahead and make a quick comment, and I won't take long, but I really was enthusiastic about this book on rethinking techno ableism because I believe disability is in the eye of the beholder.
Mm.
I think people, um, I think that there's this problem with being this assessed as quote unquote disabled. I'm going to tell a very short story. I read an article about a little island off the coast of Martha's Vineyard where most everyone was deaf and they had their own sign language. And they didn't understand that they were disabled until people from the mainland started going over to their island and they told them, oh my God, you're deaf, you're disabled. It was part of their community and they did not perceive it as anything out of the ordinary. And so I really love the idea that folks that have, and we're all challenged in some ways, some much more than others, that we adapt. But I think the major problem is the way people, the larger society, uh, labels and views people with quote unquote disabilities. So, and I thought I just give that example about the island because I just think that that's so crucial to understand. That they didn't perceive themselves as having a problem because they communicated readily with one another. Okay. So Maureen, did you want to do a closing? And Don needs to make an announcement about the next webinar.
Okay. Well, I'll just do my comment, my response to Alex's, and then Dawn can close it out.
I think we were going to have questions from people in general also. So then you go, Don will make the announcement.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then we have,
General question.
I think we
Okay.
have 15 minutes for other questions.
Okay. Great.
Okay, Don.
Okay. My response is no or inadequate healthcare. Could we use single payer healthcare? But just like anything in against techno-ableism, all people need to fit into the present healthcare system without consideration for individual differences. So I was thinking, yeah, this is a problem with even single payer healthcare. But how we used to have doctors is they would make home visits. So that may be appropriate for some people. Some people can who have no problem getting to an office or a hospital or something can still do that. But there should also be the option of going to visit the patient at their residence, I think. So that's my response to Alex's comment. And if you want to respond to me, that would be great, Alex.
I think the reason why we can't have doctors, go to every single patient is we're already in a massive shortage. Doctors have such strong specializations in the American medical system, where doctors only treat certain types of conditions. And so there's a shortage for certain patients to be able to see certain providers. There's always going to be a need to be able to transport someone. The issue is that the technology itself is not adapted to all types of bodies and all types of people. And it does so because it's seeking to be commodified. It's seeking to be something that makes a profit. And if you don't fit that profitable or commodified system, you're not a part of it. Even in my state, like there's no way for people with certain medical insurance to be able to go to a doctor if they can't drive. If you live in a rural community and you're isolated, like you're not going to see specialists. And it's by design that our system excludes people as a profit motive and as, a lack of respect for our human dignity. When you're a disabled person, you're viewed as an imperfect victim. And that label that you mentioned, Barbara, is a tool to deny us our right to care, to deny us our right to human personhood, or to make us someone different. It's the reason why we bomb Gaza, because we have labeled children to be terrorists, even though it's impossible for a child to be a terrorist. We have created a label, and then people consented to the hallucination of that label about those people and the demand of the society that others them. And they use that as consent for genocide and eugenics. And for disabled people, they are still within a system that discriminates, segregates, and kills them.
Okay, thanks. One person has their hand up.
Okay. I think.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yes.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
My name is Isis, and I'm really appreciating that you guys are doing this. I became an environmentalist because I became disabled by environmental illness. So that's what pushed me into becoming an environmentalist. I was poisoned by pesticides, which sensitized me to all kinds of other chemicals. So I became chemically sensitive to things like fragrances that many people wear. And a lot of people like me are absolutely invisible because we can't go out in public anymore because people are wearing things that are making us ill. This also made me more vulnerable to other toxic injuries, including electromagnetic sensitivities. And so now, with everybody being on their techno gadgets and Wi-Fi blasting through every space and antennas everywhere in cities, we're literally being toxically evicted from society. I'm in the woods. I can't be in the cities anymore. I couldn't walk through my own neighborhood anymore because of antennas. It impacts me neurologically. It impacts my heart. It's a mess. And there's a lot of us, but we are invisible for the most part. What I really appreciate here is that for me, the disability community has been really creative. We are constantly trying to deal with conflicting access needs. So you've got somebody who needs a service animal, but on the other hand, you have somebody who's deathly allergic to that service animal. What do? Do you prioritize one over the other? I don't think so. So we have to be creative about it. In the environmental illness community, we spend basically 20 minutes of every meeting first figuring out where everybody's going to be able to sit. Somebody needs to be near the window. Somebody needs to be near an air filter. Somebody needs to be away from the air filter because of the electronics. So I would encourage people to look at the Environmental Health Trust. website, which deals a lot with environmental illness, especially with electromagnetic injuries. They're at ehtrust.org. I added, somebody asked about the SDS link, the disability studies. That's at disstudies, DIS studies.org. It's a very important organization. One of our leaders in that group, Deva Kravnitz, recently died, unfortunately. But I encourage you all to get involved there. They're really decent human beings. Also, the Disability Cultural Center in San Francisco, disabilityculturalcenter.org, is doing a lot of online events and is really empowering a lot of people to talk about these issues with each other and within the movement and without the movement. Really encourage it. And one last thing, I would encourage you to really look at the concept of the medical model versus the social model, which is basically what everybody here has been talking about. So, I just wanted to name it. Thank you very much, y'all. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Okay, Don?
Okay, yeah, I was supposed to make a comment right after the talks about the upcoming webinar, which will be Monday, April the 6th. The title of the webinar is it still the plan to exterminate Palestine? And we will have a couple of people on who are Palestinian. One is in the West Bank. His father was murdered by the Israeli Defense Forces, or no, it was settlers going through and covered up by the Israeli Defense Forces. And his name is Aid Hathaline. The other person is Huwaida Araf, who's a Palestinian American who's played a central role in the flotillas in terms of organizing, being on the steering committee and organizing some of the first flotillas. And so again, I urge everybody to join that webinar, which will be on a Monday instead of a Wednesday. It'll be the Monday, April the 6th. And I wanted to make a couple of comments about things that I've heard this evening. One is, and they've both been from research that I've been doing on the Cuban medical system. It's the discounting of people who are disabled is not just the US. There's many countries in Latin America that use the term minusválido for disabled. Minusválido sounds just like it sounds. It's those of lesser value. And so that discrimination is not just in the US. And I also wanted to say that I really like the idea of change. I mean, you can't always change society instead of a gadget. I have this gadget, it's called glasses. And I mean, if I didn't have this gadget, I would be in a really, really bad way. But sometimes there are ways to change society. And one of the best examples I can think of is in the Cuban system. And every doctor must go to the patient's home 3 to 4 times a year. And that is actually it's not more expensive. It's a cheaper, less expensive model than the United States. And the reason it's less expensive is it's based on a total reorganization of the health system, where in every neighborhood you have a doctor-nurse team relating to those people. And when the doctor-nurse team goes into a person's home, they can see things in the home that the person needs, but in addition to the particular care. And so I think that, of course, in the country, that's different. A doctor might have a bicycle or a donkey, a horse to go visit patients. I've never heard of a Cuban having a doctor having a car. There might be some, but just the ones that I've talked to go by other means to visit people's homes. And so I think that really I'm in favor of single payer, but to me, that's just scratching the surface of what we need. And when you especially when you're dealing with problems disabled people have, which really is probably the overwhelming majority of us, you see things by going to a person's home that you simply don't understand if the person comes to your office. Okay.
Rachel has her hand up. Go ahead, Rachel.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to let everyone know that I am going to be sharing this link that Chanel put into the chat, and I'm actually going to repost it right now. so that it's on the bottom of the chat and easily accessible to everyone. I'm going to be sharing that with my state party, and I'm going to make sure that that form gets onto our Facebook page. So if you want, you can go to Green Party of Minnesota to find it, and then you can share it on your social, or you could just take that link yourself and post it on your party's social, or share it with your state party's coordinating committee to make sure that it gets onto your state party's social media too. So I'd like to encourage people to make sure that the form gets spread widely as possible, um, so that we can make sure and actually get the people, to sign up if they want to be in the caucus. Because wouldn't it be cool if 2 weeks from now we have enough people because people shared it? Go us! We can do it.
Let's
Alex?
positively.
I just wanted to thank everybody for coming tonight. I appreciated Isis's comments on, I have a mast cell activation syndrome. That's actually why I have all these allergies, is because being exposed to certain types of pollutants. Latex is actually created and manufactured using pesticides. And so that's probably why everybody's allergic to natural rubber latex after exposure a certain amount of times. I have a mast cell activation syndrome. I understand what it's like having to live and have to adapt to, commodifications that, I'm sorry, modifications that do not, you know, adapt very well to different people. So like I'm allergic to dogs. And so you're very right. We have to, at times, adapt in ways that makes it so every single person can participate. I might need to sit on the far end of the room. Actually, at St. Bartholomew's Roman Catholic Church in Philadelphia, we used the old choir room, and we had it completely separated. So that way it had a window and it had an audio system. So people inside that little choir room could hear and watch and attend. And it was used by people who had allergies to the different fragrances that they would burn in the church. To the allergies to the poinsettias, because I have a latex allergy. I'm very allergic to poinsettias. It was one adaptation that we were able to do to accommodate, so the people in Philadelphia had a church that they could go to with their disability. And so there's a lot of different ways that we are creative in using our own natural environment that we have, the infrastructure that we already have that exists in our communities, so that people can participate. And I really appreciate you mentioning social model of disability thinking, because the whole concept of being disabled isn't because I have a medical diagnosis. My medical diagnosis doesn't disable me. What disables me is, how my infrastructure around me is built, how I have to live my life, and what commodities I am able to consume and access in my local society to bridge the gaps. One thing I did want to caution everyone on is my one comment on techno-ableism is that while techno-ableism is often a commodity that is there to erase us, it's the idea of techno-solutionism, that a solution that disability is an idea to be solved. I disagree with the whole concept of, disability having to be a concept that we can solve. But I also believe that technology and gadgets are tools that we can use to make our life more accessible for us. I believe in the concept of cryptech, where we reclaim technology, because people with disabilities are very often developers of technology. They're really often involved in coding or in engineering or in different fields of creating things, because they have to live their life differently. They often have to adapt technology so that they can live their life and adapt to what society demands of them, so that they aren't as disabled by the society that wishes to segregate and erase them. And so it's a really important concept to also think about, is like, how do we make it so people with disabilities are empowered to create the technology that serves their life, and how do we empower that natural low tech environment that most of us need? Because if there's an EMP that goes off, or if there's, power goes out, a lot of gadgets and devices no longer work. And we're back to needing that interdependence. Crypt tech allows us to, build off of that concept a little bit, is that eco-crypt politic or eco-crypt wisdom that I was mentioning earlier, that Sarah Jaquette Ray talks about. We have to empower that at the same time as acknowledging that these commodities do not save us and do not, and a lot of times are meant to commodify or erase us.
Is anyone else thinking of speaking? Maybe somebody who hasn't spoken?
Yeah, I'll give like a quick comment. It's just a throwback to earlier when we were talking about autism and stuff. I think with the conversation around autistic people really struggling. Oh, sorry. Do you mind muting yourself, David?
David, could you mute, please?
Thank you. Struggling to understand social cues and stuff. I was thinking about the concept of pluralism and, interdependence. I think a barrier for me as an autistic woman to interdependence is that the challenging aspect of building social relationships and also just having the bandwidth to maintain social relationships with more than like the few people that I feel very comfortable with. So just, like thinking of ways that neurotypicals can make society more accessible to neurodivergent people so that the onus isn't always on us to try to adapt and mask and whatever. I think, instead of expecting us to read the social cues, which is quite challenging and stressful, people could practice like being more direct or just understand that while we can't read the neurotypical social cues and then get punished for it, neurotypicals also might struggle to read neurodivergent social cues, but just because we're a neurominority, the neurotypicals are not being punished in the same way for not understanding us. I hope that made sense. And yeah, thank you all.
Total sense. I'm the same way. I have no idea what social cues are. People will say something and I think they're serious when they're just being sarcastic. And yep, society's supposed to adapt to us, not the other way around. We're not supposed to adapt, and we're not going to be perfect. And so demanding perfection out of us, being a perfect commodity, is not what we're going to do. And so we just need to end that capitalist pluralistic dominance. Pluralism is the what's it called? The domination of a majority. Pluriversalism is a world where many worlds fit. That's so pluriversalism is the what we're going for rather than pluralism, because we don't want just the majority dominating the people who are disabled.
I'm sorry, David, when you unmuted, do you want to say something?
Yes. I was glad to hear that there was a Green New Deal for health and not just the environment. And you have a person here who reviews books. I got these books written by Ralph Nader, a fellow Green of mine, and books about the Green New Deal. And you know what? I'm glad how being green is making it in Kansas City. We have a streetcar that runs on electricity, and I've seen one in St. Louis too. If my guardian approves, I'm gonna be going to a disability innovation lab to bring out my talent and
and do good jobs. And ever since I became green, things are going well for me.
Good.
Sounds wonderful.
Is that it?
Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
Go ahead and mute again, David.
No problem.
Thanks so much. Okay, anybody else who gets the last words here? It'll be the words everyone remembers.
Right, because it'll be
Speak last.
Or to the people.
Power to the people, all people.
Chanel, were you trying to say something?
I was just going to remind everyone that the reason we say disabled is because that's a legally protected term. Like there's laws around being disabled. They have to do certain things because the ADA exists, and that was protection for people with disabilities. There are lots of other ways to self-describe yourself, but it's important to remember that legally the word is disabled. The one that protects you from the law is disabled. So even though we may have other names for ourselves, self-identifying how we would, it's really important to remember that from a legal perspective, the term you need to help you out in a situation is that you're a disabled person protected by the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Rehabilitation Act of I think 1975, but I'm not exactly sure which one. And disabled is not a dirty word, is my point.
And also it was hard won. People were carried off the steps of the Capitol protesting.
504 sit-ins. Section 504 of the 1990 Rehabilitation Act.
I'm lucky to have been born after July of that year, so I happen to not have a life without the ADA in my life. I was born after the passage of the ADA, and I can't imagine what life would have been like for me if that didn't exist. Because between the ADA and IDEA, I wouldn't have been able to go to school at all if the ADA didn't exist and if IDEA wasn't a thing.
And like I said earlier, I didn't get to go to school until the Americans with Disabilities Amendment Act of 2008 was passed. And so my rights didn't exist until 2009. This is a reality for a lot of us. There are still some of us whose rights are not protected by the current definitions of the ADA. And those are things that we must continue to fight for.
Absolutely. You would think they would have stopped using latex by now.
It's only banned in 9 states in healthcare and food handling. There's a couple of municipalities that ban it in schools and some municipalities that ban like certain types of products, but it's not a universal ban even in the states that it's banned in. It's just a ban of gloves and in some cases inflated balloons. And so we have a lot more work to do because there's also TheraBands, catheters, a whole bunch of different stuff that they use on us, and it results in usually a couple dozen deaths a year. In my state, it's about 500 to 600 accidental exposures in the healthcare system.
Okay. Thank you for coming. Come back on April 5th. Am I correct, Don?
April 6th, Monday, April 6th.
Monday, April 6th. And thank you for everybody's contribution. This is excellent.
Yeah.
All right.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.